right now, we are venturing into a world completely hidden from the public eye. So, welcome to today's Explainer. We're talking about the deep, mysterious, and strictly undisclosed jungles of Sri Lanka. It's a place where incredible secrets of the natural world are just sitting there, waiting to be uncovered, and where science is literally in a desperate race against time.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by exploring this hidden wildlife, unpack the extinction threat, look at the scientific funding crisis, map out the rigorous discovery process, break down the real cost of conservation, and finally, talk about how we can actually save these unseen species. Section 1. Sri Lanka's Hidden Wildlife. Exploring the Uncharted.
Imagine just stepping into a dense, totally unmapped rainforest. We're talking a wild world full of blood-sucking leeches and bizarre carnivorous pitcher plants. You know, a lot of it lives in these deep jungles is what biologists call an endemic species. That just means they are uniquely found in one single geographic location and absolutely nowhere else on Earth. Sri Lanka is home to some incredible endemic examples, like the completely harmless pipe snake, but also the highly venomous crate. And trust me, if a crate bites you out there, you need medical attention within an hour or, well, it's fatal.
Section 2. The Extinction Threat. A Race Against Time.
So there is a severe, ticking clock hanging over this jungle. These completely unseen creatures are actively battling rampant deforestation, an aggressive illegal wildlife trade, constant jungle encroachment, and habitat destruction from so-called development projects. It's a huge problem, because without a proper scientific record, entirely unknown animals could just vanish without a trace. The world would literally never even know what it lost.
And hey, this isn't just some hypothetical threat. Look at this startling reality researchers recently discovered in the field. They found that poachers, quote, have dug up the spider's burrows for the illegal pet trade. It's essentially a true crime scene right in the middle of the pristine rainforest. People are actively tearing apart delicate habitats just to sell exotic tarantulas. And this, right here, is exactly why the true location of these pristine jungles has to remain a strictly undisclosed secret. Section 3. Science in Crisis. The Funding Drought. Now, at the very forefront of the battle to stop all this destruction is conservation biologist Dr. Ranil Nanayakara and his nonprofit organization, BEAR, which stands for Biodiversity, Education, and Research. And man, they have an absolutely incredible track record. Between 2009 and 2019, his team successfully discovered an astounding 68 new species. We're talking everything from spiders and snakes to actual mammals. They were making massive strides for global ecology.
But then, everything just stopped. The post-COVID funding drought completely halted their research. The pandemic essentially dried up their financial resources overnight, which left BEAR's critical field operations and their documentation efforts at a total standstill. The scientists are out there, they're ready to work, but the resources simply aren't there anymore.
And because of this massive drought, right now, 40 newly discovered animal species are currently waiting in limbo. 40! These are real creatures that have actually been spotted in the wild, but they remain entirely undocumented and totally legally unprotected, all due to this severe financial crisis.
Section 4. The 6-step discovery process. Blueprint of science. Let's break down how a species goes from just being a jungle rumor to a recognized scientific fact. You know, we tend to really romanticize jungle exploration like it's an Indiana Jones movie, but the actual process is incredibly rigorous. Step 1 is field exploration. Then Step 2 is specimen collection. This is followed by a ton of intensive lab work. Step 3 is morphological examination. Step 4 is comparative analysis. Step 5 is molecular analysis. And finally, the big one, Step 6, publishing and naming. What is truly fascinating about Step 2 is Dr. Ranil's incredibly ethical approach to it. Normally, scientists will just capture and kill a specimen so they can study it. Well, Dr. Ranil doesn't do that. He brings the live animal back, keeps it perfectly safe, and literally waits for it to die a natural death of old age before he preserves it for research. It's a game changer for ethical biology. Once a specimen is naturally preserved, we hit steps 3 and 4, which are just painstaking. Scientists need high-quality microscopes to examine super tiny details like reproductive or stridulating organs. And because preserved specimens eventually fade and lose their color sitting in alcohol, researchers literally have to travel to global museums just to physically compare their newly found faded specimens against existing ones worldwide. And then comes the absolute biggest hurdle, Step 6. Did you know that publishing a single research paper in high-impact scientific journals, places like Nature, Science, Zookeys, or Zootoxa, can cost between $3,000 to $4,000? I mean, that is a massive financial barrier just to officially tell the world that a species even exists.
Section 5. The cost of conservation. The economics of survival.
Okay, this brings us to the actual economics of survival. The harsh reality of biology funding is that passion just isn't enough. It takes hard cash. So I want to ask you the elephant in the room question here. Why spend all this money on documentation instead of just leaving the forest alone? Like, wouldn't it be way easier and way cheaper to just let nature be?
Well, here is why that simply doesn't work. Without documentation, there is zero public awareness. The animals remain highly vulnerable to those poachers we talked about, and there is absolutely no legal protection. But with documentation, it completely flips the script. It triggers research tourism, it ignites NGO interest, and most importantly, it puts major legal pressure on governments to grant the area official national park status. Documentation isn't just paperwork. It is the necessary trigger for real, actual conservation.
To show you the multi-layered true cost of this, let's break down a 5 lakh rupee donation, which is roughly $6,000, made by the hosts of our source material. It takes 1 lakh to pay the field assistants, 1.5 lakh for those vital museum visits we mentioned, another 1 lakh for specialized lab equipment, 1 lakh just to hit the publish button on the paper, and 50,000 rupees for local awareness programs. It literally takes a whole ecosystem of funding to save just one single species.
Section 6. Saving Unseen Species. The Power of Crowdfunding. So this brings us to how everyday individuals can actually step in to solve this crisis. But first, I need to share a really fascinating rule of taxonomy. Did you know scientists cannot name a newly discovered species after themselves? It's a super strict convention in biology. Instead, the naming right is used to honor others, mentors, historical figures, or, crucially, the people who actually fund the research.
Which leads us to this fantastic outcome. Thanks to that 5 lakh funding we just broke down, a newly documented tarantula species was safely added to the scientific record. And because of that strict naming rule, it was officially given the scientific name Poecilotheria rathae, directly in honor of the host who funded its documentation. How cool is that?
And that gives all of us an incredible blueprint for action. A $3,000 donation fully funds that entire 6-step process for one species. If a donor provides that $3,000, they literally pull one of those 40 pending species out of limbo, fully funded survival, and receive the ultimate honor. The species is named after them forever.
So, I want to leave you with this final critical thought. 40 unseen species are out there, right now, just waiting in the dark. Will we let them vanish without a trace before we even know who they are? Or will we step up, fund the science, and help write their names into history? The choice, incredibly, is in our hands.